Okay, hello everybody. We are in the first session of the second day for this fantastic training. BMS platform is a complete solution for building management systems, and we have many things to show to you. So yesterday we have seen how we can integrate different technologies. As you can see, we had integrated magnet, bus, KNX, and we have some real devices that we can practice with. We have also seen an overview of what is the item tree for us, how we can get a lot of data points from that technologies in our native driver branch, that's XIO. But we will see that we have a lot of more information we can handle, we can manage. About this, we will start to work with a tool that is called the Web Manager. Okay, Web Manager is a web application. We can access the Web Manager from this button. We also have an icon when you install the BMS platform. We have an icon here. Web Manager is also accessible from this. We will see that it's also possible to access the Web Manager from the visualization editor. So it's a tool that we can access in different ways. From the BMS platform, we also had, and saw yesterday somehow shortly, but we saw this, that we have a service control, that it's just a Windows application, where we can also stop the core server, for example, or restart the core server from here, or the Web Manager from here. And about the Web Manager, we have some details related to the ports, to the different ports we can configure. So we have two different parts here. The Web Manager itself, it can be accessible without security and with secure ports. And also the web visualization is also accessible from without and with security ports, okay? HTTP and HTTPS, so TLS communication. The default ports are these. I was using a different one for web visualization, but the default ports are these. The state is also shown here. We also can force to use only secure communication, so it's really easy to handle this. Okay, we will maintain these ports. Also, it's possible to see which ports we are using for this Web Manager in the server branch and the sub branch Web Manager. For example, we can see also the ports that that are used every time. So these are items also that can be consulted, that can be represented in the visualization if you need, for example. So it's also interesting to see that everything as an item. Okay, this is very interesting also. But what we're going to do is just to access the Web Manager. Just pressing this button, I have the Web Manager open. So you will see what is the result after opening the Web Manager. But let's do it from the scratch. Let me close this and just press Web Manager. Okay. Pressing this button, it's automatically going to the HTTPS. Okay, in my case, I have to change to normal communication because some issue with my HTTPS, but it's possible to see with a normal port, 21,000, not 21,001. That will be the other one. But we have to access the Web Manager with the right permissions. These permissions, by default, there is only one user created, that is the profile is a super administrator. The user for this super administration is admin, okay? And the password I will write now, but I will write you here, the password is change me, okay? This is the password by default. So, of course, you should change the password after finishing the projects. But now the default is easy to remember. The default password is change me. Okay, so entering with admin and change me, we access as a super admin to our Web Manager. So we have access, full access to all the tools that we have installed. be able to create alarms, to see the alarms, to configure the alarms, to create events, scheduler events, including conditional events. Like the name maybe is not 100% accurate, but it's maybe I should call it events. Time events or conditional events are included in the scheduler. We can configure the trends, as you will see. So how can we feed the database is what we can say. Defining trendings, defining charts to represent these trendings, all these things. We can also manage the visualizations, as we will see in the last sessions of the training. We have the Explorer that is a resume of all these apps. Everything is together here, so we can manage the exporting and importing of all these things. All these elements. We can create templates to work very fast. As you will see, some examples will be done with the templates. If you have the metering module, we have the metering configuration here. This is an extra. The metering module is not included in by default in the licensing, but if you have metering, you can also, for a small price, include the metering module. We have, for sure, in every kind of license, the reporting module that it's fantastic to do a lot of possible reports automatically. Also, we can send reports automatically to some emails. We can also store reports automatically. I will show you some examples in different sessions about this, but now this session is to explain the basics of the web manager. Okay, so okay, here, yes. So diagnosis also, it's very interesting because we can access the BMS server remotely. Remember, I am in the same computer, of course, it's localhost is the port, okay? But if you put here the IP of my computer and from other computer in the same network or using VPN or whatever, you access to that IP, then you can access to the web manager, and then you can access to many information from the web, from the server. That is very interesting. Visualization is also, in combination with the visualization management, is also to see different visualization clients. And this is the guest room management system we also have included in our solution. So it's possible to have a lot of information here. And this tool is also improving day by day, month by month. So we will see in the future new functionalities. It's also possible to manage the shutter control system, but this is a special tool we will show you in the end of the training. A very special tool for huge buildings with a lot of shutters that automatically can be configured depending on the sun position. But we will focus on the basics of Web Manager now. First of all, before starting with some examples about alarms or trendings or events, we have to deal about the different user and groups profiles, because this is also accessible, of course, from the end user. So it's not just for us to configure, it's also for the end user. And the end user can have different profiles also, because we may have people that need to create things, to manage these things, and to visualize the different things. Three different concepts. Create, for example, a calendar. It's for a specific role, administrator. To manage a calendar, let's say, some people that cannot create calendars but can change the timings, for example, this is for a different role, a manager. It's not an administrator, it's a manager. And also a viewer, for example. Somebody that can see what is the calendar, what is the timing, but cannot change the timings and cannot change or create or delete the different calendars, as an example. And there is a fourth kind of role, that the simple user that sometimes can see things and sometimes cannot see things. So all these roles, all these profiles can be created here. Okay. So there is a specific part of this web manager to create different profiles. As you can see, we have my super admin profile here. Is as internal. Authentication in this case is internal. It's just user and password, because we can also integrate it can also integrate external authentication, like Windows authentication, where you have a huge company with Windows authentication with different profiles, users and passwords. It's also possible to integrate, but this is another part of the BMS and not included in this explanation, but it's possible to include. So if you want to create a user, for example, let's say, let's create one. I will put username user one, for example. Let's say it's myself, Julio, for example. Description, normal user, for example. Browser settings, the language or the format, you can select different languages. It's translated to English, Deutsch, Spanish, Spanish, French, and Roman from Romania. It's also translated. The web manager, that's good. First day of the week, depending on your region, can be different. Here in Spain, it's Monday, but for example, in UK, it's Sunday. It's different. The page size, the group, it's also interesting because you can give permissions to groups directly, and you can save a lot of time. if you have a management group or a maintenance group or whatever, it's also possible, but this is very simple. And just select a password. I would say 1, 2, 3, 4. That is very simple to remember for me in this case, and I have to confirm. It's a manager, it's a viewer, it's an administrator. So you can also give general, the default role for all the apps, but then you can also change these roles. So let's say it's a manager, but then I save it, okay? And then we can go for the permissions. So you can see here, well, we can create groups here, but it's just another way to make work faster, creating the groups, as mentioned before. But here you can give different permissions. If you are a super administrator, you cannot quit or release any permission. But here, for example, for alarms, I can say no permissions. This will make me, if I log in as user one, even to not see the icon of the alarms. I cannot access because the icon will not appear. For diagnosis, maybe I'm just a viewer. For the Explorer, I'm just a viewer, wherever. So I cannot see the guest room management system, for example. And the metering is also no permission because I'm not responsible for this. The reporting, I can be a viewer also. So this also is explained in the knowledge base. Remember that we have knowledge base also, scheduler, and well, this all these things. Okay, so then if I say for whatever things, no permissions, if I log in as a user, I will see only a few things because I am just, as an example, I am just configuring all these things for this user one. So if I log in as user one, as you can see, I only see what I can see, and some of the cases I just can take a look on whatever it is in the app, but I don't have any configuration possible. Okay, so that's the question. I will log it again as admin. And again, I see everything. Okay, so from this point of view, it's very interesting. There is some configuration here also for the web manager itself. For example, this is very interesting. If you have some issues with the trends, we will see later, but there is a limit that can be changed for the number of data points represented in a graphic, in a chart. If you want to force to have more data points, you can have a different threshold, because the system will automatically change from all the data representation to only aggregation of this data representation. This means like a shorten of the data, a resume of the data with this value. Also, you can force the two-factor authentication for all the users. It's very, very sophisticated. But I think the most important thing is some examples to show you. So I will start with the trending because it's interesting to get some data live from the practical boards. So I will start to show you how can we manage these trendings. Of course, every single app has a different color. So if you access alarms, it will be an orange bar. If you go to scheduler, you can see the same as the icon color. But for trendings is green. Okay, that's to distinguish. Here, what we can do is start creating some folders, for example, to organize our examples. So I will create a folder called tests, just for that reason, because afterwards I will create a lot of elements using that templates as promised. As a test, I will create just one trending. The trending is the first thing we need to create, because the trending is the way that we define how the database is storing the data. So it's important to distinguish trending than chart from chart. Trending is historization of data. Okay, we define how this data will be historized, and in the chart we can mix different data from different trendings, but we need trendings to do so. So first step is to create a trending. So first of all, we give a name, for example, temperature room 0101, for example. Okay, description if necessary. The item, of course, we have to select the item. So what we access here is our item tree. Remember, my temperature is in XIO, KNX, whatever, but remember we have the alias. So it's easier to find it here. It's easier to find it here. It's exactly the same if you get the data from the alias that from the data, the origin of the data. Now, very important, what is the data you want to historize? You want all the data, every single data that comes from the field bus, it's going to be stored. Take care with this, because if you have a Modbus or a BACnet and with 5 seconds polling, you will get a lot of data, and sometimes unnecessarily. Because, for example, temperature is not changing every 5 seconds, or is not appreciated every 5 seconds. So in this case, for example, it's also nonsense if you have a thermostat that sends locally in the field bus every 5 minutes. It makes nonsense that you get an average every 1 minute. It's nonsense, because you will get 5 times the same data, because the real device is only sending data every 5 minutes. So it has to be analyzed what is the best option in terms of not to store unnecessary data and not to lose data that can be interesting. For example, in terms of power, if you have a metering and you want to represent the instant power in watts, for example, maybe it's interesting to represent all the data. But also it's important to configure the device to send the data in a proper way. Because every 100 milliseconds, it's so accurate, maybe it's not necessary to have this precision, because it will be a lot of information in our database. So in resume, we can configure, we can manage how many data points, how many data we are storing per element, per data point. For example, on average every minute, I don't know what is the configuration of my device, but I think it's every minute sent, so it's okay. Or maybe, let's say, take all the data. You can also fix a maximum age in days of the data, so it will store only the last whatever days you put here. You can apply scaling. So yesterday, Bota, I think it was a question from our colleague Bota, how to represent data with the scale factor or whatever. If you just want to represent data, you can do it here. You are not converting the data in the item itself. The item itself will have the data multiplied by 10 or 100 or whatever, but you can apply the scaling here. So you can apply the scaling here, and if it has to be divided by 10, you do this. You can also apply a value that can be an offset here and a total offset at the end. So it's possible to do this. That's typical, for example, in metering. If you have a meter that has a specific value and you want to decrement this value and start from 0, you put this 345, for example, initial value here, and you are representing the metering from 0 because you are decrementing this value from the very beginning. That's a typical situation. But in this case, we just give you that possibility to do this. It's also interesting for consistency reasons, minimum and maximum validation, because it's sometimes, it's strange, but sometimes we get a normal data. So imagine this is a temperature and will never be less, it's inside the rooms, it will never be less than 7, for example, and it will never be more than 40, for example, because if you get 1000, for example, value in a graphic, it will be very disturbant. So it will be not good to have all the data around 20 and 1000 one day because the data was has a misinterpretation or whatever. So you can do this also, minimum and maximum validation. All the data out of this range will be ignored. That's also very interesting because you can manage all these things. You can also have a timing program for this. So, okay, I will store data, but until 31st of December or 21st of July or whatever. It's also possible. And then now some graphical things. If you want a line, an area, a spline area, all these things. It's good to play with because it doesn't mind what you are selecting here because it can be changed on the fly in the chart. Just a line, the range, for example, by default can be daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or custom also. You can also select a specific timing, 2 hours, 3 hours, or whatever. But again, it can be also changed on the fly in the graphic. So it's fantastic. The color, of course, can be interesting to change the color, and you can select here RGB colors, whatever. Doesn't mind. It can be in hexadecimal if you want only red. It can be FF0000, that it's pure red because it's totally red, nothing in blue, nothing in green, nothing in blue, for example. If you want yellow, it's just, and it will be yellow because it's a mixture of red and green. It's yellow, but it's just an example. You can include the labels, but all these things can be changed on the fly. Number of decimals and the scaling in the vertical, in the y-axis. It can be dynamic, zero-based, or depending on the range, minimum, maximum. By default, it's okay. And if you want to put a label, it's a Celsius degrees, for example, it's okay. If you want to show by default with aggregation or not, you can define here. So it's really powerful the way that we can configure any chart. So we can save, and of course we have to wait a lot of time to start getting information because it depends on my devices to send this information. But you can see the plot now. So if we have data, you will see data. But of course, I guess we shouldn't have any data now. Okay, no data. It's trying to recall the data. Oh yes, we have one data. Yeah, we have one data here. If we lose the aggregation, one data, because the data is starting to be stored now. We don't have data from yesterday. I mean, because yesterday we didn't define any way to storage this data. It's very important to understand that if you want to get data please create first the trendings, because if not, you will lose this information. Then maybe it's interesting for you. So start creating trendings. So we can change the color as promised. Okay, change the color. You can change also the daily range. Okay, you can also change this. You can represent bars or with whatever. Okay, and it's very interesting. You can change dynamically from plot to table. So you can see the values here. You can export to the Excel, to an Excel file, or maybe if it's a plot, you can print in PNG, PDF, SVG file, or whatever, on the fly from web. Okay, it doesn't have to be in a computer. It could be also done by in the web. This chart, it's of course possible to represent it in the visualization. We will see this in the visualization. You can call this chart from a button, for example, or you can have a specific screen with the chart on it. So it's very interesting this way. So I have to wait some minutes to get more data. Let's see. But what I will show you now is, okay, I have one room trending, but we have 8 rooms, or maybe in the real project, we have 500 rooms. How can we do in a fast way the definition for all the temperatures of all the rooms very fast? So this is the second example I will show you. To do this, we have to go out of this app and go to templates. And then you will start to see the magic of the BMS, because we will do this, but in one very fast way, creating a template for this graphic, for this chart definition. So what you can see here is that we have a floating window about variables. You will see. Okay, let me start explaining this. I will create a template, let's say plus. We can create templates for alarms, for time events, start, stop, one time event, or cyclical events. These three elements are time events. So start, stop, it's a typical calendar. One time event is also interesting sometimes. For example, I want to send a report every day at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a one-time event. So this is typical. I want to send a central off for the lights every hour or every 15 minutes from this time to this time in the night. So I ensure that all the lights are off because I'm sending cyclically this, whatever, okay? Conditional event, that is really interesting, because for us as integrators, we are always doing this. Conditional events means if this, then do that. This is the IFTTT. This is very, very sophisticated, very interesting for us, conditional events, remember, because we will do some examples for conditional events. But also we can create templates for trendings. So this is what I am going to do. It's possible to create events for these kind of things related to metering, okay? All these things are related to metering, and the hotel room, and so on. So a trending, template for a trending I will create. So you will see exactly the same layout from trending creation done before, but this is a template. So this is the name of a template. For example, room temperatures. This is just the name of the template, but it's very important. The path extension is how we will create folders for every single temperature definition. So for example, we can create a folder called number 3 trendings. It's a general folder, and inside this, with backslash, a specific folder for temperatures, okay, and backslash a specific folder for every room. And if it has to be as a different room, I will start creating variables. Remember that we have rooms 01, 01, 01, 02, 02, 01, 02, 02, etc. So there were two different things that changed. And I can define variables using that keys. For example, for the floor, so I can say floor number, okay, let's say number, and I close the key, and I open another key, room number. So this is the definition of the variables. If I press outside, I have created these variables. As I am a bit lazy, let's say, it's also possible just to put, for example, F and R. That is understandable also. The other variables are not deleted, but if I save, I think so. No, yes, I will save later. Okay, no problem. F and R. Room, number of the floor, number of the room. Okay, name of the trending temperature at room, and then I choose the variables that I press in the variables. A description is not necessary, and the item. Okay, and this is very important because the item is this one, okay? But this is one item for one specific room, but I can change these values to this. Oops, sorry. To this. So I am linking to variables the number of the room and of course the item itself. This is the item that will be different depending on the values I will give to these variables, values that I will give afterwards. Now I'm creating the template. I will give the values for this number of the floor and number of the rooms afterwards. I will say all data, please, no scaling, everything is okay for me. I will just change the color, for example, whatever color, it's okay for me. And it's Celsius degrees, and I can save. I am creating the template, just creating the template. Now, okay, the variables are now reset, and the name of the variables are okay. So this is the template. Let's apply this template, whatever it's interesting. So let's go out and go again to trending, because what I would like to do now is to generate these templates. If I go here to the second button, you can see that I can apply the template. Okay, which template? We find a lot of templates, as you can see, only one. And then, of course, I have to give values to these variables. The variables are these columns, F and R, the floor number, the room number in resume. I need a template to give these values. This will be created in Excel. Export Excel template is what I have to do now. Export Excel template. So I get these room temperatures. I can know in Excel. And this is to give that values. Okay. This is the Excel template. What I have done is, because let me write it here. Remember, the room was 0, 1, 0, whatever. So let me see. The only values that changed was the last two numbers, the second and the fourth number. But I wanted to make it really powerful, because if you have more than 10 rooms and 10 floors in the hotel, it will be interesting to extend these values to two decimals, not only two characters, not only one. So I mean, what I will put here is the floor number 01, 02 or whatever, and the room number 0102. This has to be done with some special character, because we have to this 01, okay? The room is also 01 for this example, and this is the first room, floor, room, this is room 0101. So we have 0102, in this case for the same floor. And what I have to do is just write values here. This is for the floor 2. There will be copy paste. For the third floor 2 rooms also, there will be copy paste for this floor also. So I can copy paste also these values, 2 rooms per floor, and I can copy this. So it's just a few seconds. If you have 10,000 rooms, 100 floors with 100 rooms, it takes some minutes. It's not so complex. This is the room temperatures file, okay, the file with the values that we will give to these variables. So we need to do this. I just save this, and what I have to do is to select this file. I select the file. It will be downloads, I think. Downloads. I will do another folder, room temperatures, okay? I'm just selecting this file, so you get these values for floor and for the room. And if I select import using this template, it takes a few seconds. Added 8, no known updated, known failed. Okay, that's fantastic. So I get my folder trendings with my folder temperatures, with my folder per room, and my 8 definitions. That's magic. And every single chart has its definition and has its values. I repeat, every single chart is defined to the correct item. And now you start to understand why I did the aliases, because the aliases gives me the opportunity to do this, to organize every single item with the name I would like to give and with the folders I would need. So that's it. Every single element. And what is the last thing to explain here? We have trendings for the temperatures per room. That's fantastic. Maybe it's not necessary to organize by rooms. Maybe it's not necessary to organize by rooms. So it's possible to change the template and delete just this folder in the path. And then every single chart will be here. It's possible to do, but I will remain this. What I'm going to do is just to create a chart. So what is a chart? A chart, and we can follow, we can go ahead. A chart is the combination of different trendings. So for example, to compare the temperatures of the left and the right room, or maybe to compare temperatures for the first rooms per floor. Let's say that I will compare temperatures from room 0101, 0201, 0301, 0401, for example. So the chart is temperature comparison west facade, let's say, for example. Okay, so a description comparing temperatures from rooms whatever 01. Okay, but floor number 01 is the name of the room, for example. The chart type, I will explain. Normal is normal. It means different values in the same time. But it could be also period comparison. You can compare the temperature of the room today from the same room yesterday, for example. That's a second example I can also show you. So tomorrow we can see a graphic from yesterday and a graphic from today. So that it's possible to compare. Default range can be also changed dynamically. It's not a problem. Not necessary to see labels because we have the axis aggregation by default. It's not a problem. The question is that we just select trendings here. Which trendings? Okay, let me add 4 with different colors. Red, green, some kind of green, doesn't mind. Blue, some kind of blue also. And let's say yellow, for example. Okay, and then here I select the trendings. Where are the trendings in the item tree? So I have my this temperature. Okay, select it. The second floor, same room. I select it. The third floor, first room. I just select it, and finally the fourth one. We could do this copy pasting, maybe, yes. No, we cannot. In this case, we cannot. We have to select the element directly. I was just testing because sometimes it's possible, but not the case. So we have this label Celsius degrees, and that's it. This is my, okay, the colors I should have changed the colors afterwards because okay, red 0101, green 0201, blue, and yellow. Okay. And then if you see this chart, you can show the plot. You can see comparison, and you can say, okay, I don't want to see this now and this now. Dynamically, you can select only 1, 2, 3, or all of the values, so you will see the graphics. You can change dynamically also the timing. Even you can select custom. Custom means, okay, I only want to see from 11 to 12 or wherever. So 22nd to 22nd, from 9 to 10. And you see only the last hour, for example. If we get some. Okay. And also you can see as a table, interesting, and export to Excel these values as a table. So every single data will be in the table. That's good. Okay, you can see this as a table with different columns and so on. So that's really nice because you can manage the data very easy. So this is temperature comparison, but as I mentioned before, it's also possible to create a chart with period comparison. So it's so I can add the trend. Okay. And select this trending. And the same trending, well, you can select whatever you want, but normally makes sense to select the same trending to compare that value in different periods. So the offset in this case is -1, for example. So this means that you will compare this data from today and yesterday, but because the default range is day, because if you change dynamically to week, you will see the values of this week compared to last week, and the values of this month compared to last month. So it's possible to do this. Just the offset is what you may have to configure. Maybe you want to compare also 2 months ago, 2 days ago, or 2 weeks ago. It's just to do this. Select and put the offset -2 for the same temperature. So that's very interesting also, because you can see the evolution of the signal daily, weekly, or monthly, or whatever, for an instant value. Okay, instant value means not a cumulative value. For metering, for example, I will show you in other sessions different things. Okay, red, green, blue to distinguish with colors the values. That's really interesting. Okay, the charts, and the charts doesn't mind. You can create a chart tomorrow and you will get the data from today. This is the very interesting thing. The trendings are important to be created as soon as you want to get data, but the charts are not important. You can create a chart in one next month and you can get the data from the very beginning, because you are using the data of the trending, and the trending started today. So next month you will have 30 days of data automatically in your chart. But if you don't create the trending, you will get nothing. So it's important to understand what a trending and what is a chart. Templates, trending, charts, very interesting. So let's continue. Let's continue with the alarms, for example. This is also very interesting to do, to create an alarm. Let's go to Web Manager and you can see the alarms. Okay, we will continue doing examples in other sessions, okay, because we have only a reduced amount of time, but it's important to see this. Well, the alarms has two different parts. One is the alarm window with all the list of the alarms, of course, but of course we need to configure these alarms. So we have these two parts in our Web Manager window. Configuring the alarms, it's possible to create an alarm, whatever, okay? I will explain now, but it's also to use templates for the alarms. I will create one alarm as a test, okay? For example, to monitor a temperature or whatever, okay? It's possible to do this. I will create an alarm, but what happens? Maybe, of course, we need to establish a condition for the alarms to be triggered. Sometimes we want also to create actions to execute if the alarm happens. This is optional, I will say. But the alarm gives us the possibilities to do everything at the same time. So you don't need to create the conditions before you create the alarm configuration. It's possible to do on the fly. So I would say, if you want to create an alarm, let's go. Let's create an alarm. What is the name of the alarm? Room 0101 temperature alarm, for example. It's just an example. Sorry. Temperature alarm. Alarm if temp higher than, let's say 23. I don't know what's the temperature now, but we can check. What's the temperature now? Alias room 20.3. Okay, let's say higher than 20. It's just an example, okay? Or 20.3. Condition. That's the thing. Well, sorry, priority. This is just internally. If you want to classify your alarms by priority, it just can be informative. It can be low, medium, or high. But this is important because you can also filter by this. Okay, so this is interesting. Let's say low. Okay, there will be different color and icon. This a condition is necessary. We have to establish a condition. So where is the condition? We don't have any condition. We have to create the condition. Okay, let's do it. Condition. Name. Room. Temp higher than 20.3 is the name. It doesn't mind, but okay. Description, nothing. Logic operation. That's interesting also because we can have a complex condition. We can select different things, and that will be the and of all these things. It could be the or of all these things, the negative or, the negative and. It is really sophisticated. If you only have one condition, it doesn't mind. The and with one enter is the same in the output. The or with an input, an and with one input is the same result in the output, and and with an or whatever of this. Well, this is the negative, but and or it's the same. So if it's only one condition, like temperature higher than, it's not important. But it's has to be this condition and also the outside temperature also higher than whatever, and it's nighttime, no daytime, or the wind speed is higher than whatever. It's a complex and has to be an and of all these conditions to be triggered this condition. So in this case, nothing. You can also create a delay. Okay, let's give a delay to the alarm to be triggered. Maybe the temperature will be higher than this point, but only a few seconds, and then go back again below the threshold. So don't trigger the alarm if the alarm is higher than the value only for a few seconds. So you can also put here a delay. All these things are easy to understand. Condition, okay. And we start to understand what is this. X conditions will be related to the X logic module and to the X commands that we can create and we can use. In this case, it's fixed. It's possible just to compare, for example. That's typical thing. If the value is equals, greater or equal, that is what I am going to select. Well, let's say greater than. Okay, that's what you can do here. Or also, the condition can be also a Lua script, so something more sophisticated. Okay, but in this case, typical case is condition. So I have selected the greater. Okay, so greater means we need some value to compare, some input, some item to compare with a specific value. What is the item? The item is the temperature of this room. So we have also this example today. And then what is the value? The value can be a Boolean, or if it's true or false, not the case. A number, yes, could be a text, a string, or even an item ID where you have the reference. So you can compare with an item ID with a value, a specific value. So it can be also variable, for example. But let's say number, and the number is 20.3 or comma in my computer. Okay, it is converted to dot automatically. So if I save, this is the condition. Okay, I have the condition, I have created the condition, and then I have to select this condition to continue with my definition. Actions on appear, actions on vanish. This is optional. Okay, let's say it's optional in an alarm. An alarm itself is just necessary the condition to be defined. You need just to define a condition. The actions are optional. I can say, what is an action? Okay, let's turn on the ventilator. Let's open the window, or let's just send me an email with the information, send me a telegram. We will see this in other sessions, but it's interesting to understand. An action is optional, and I will not create any action for this example, because I want to show you that an alarm is an alarm itself. It has its own nature. Just when the condition is triggered, we get the alarm. So that's it. The important thing. Actions are optional in this case, because an alarm is a different thing, or has to be considered a different thing than an event. An event is not an alarm, because I don't need, when I define an event, it's just to do something when something happens. But an alarm is a different thing. It's maybe a critical thing. It has to be registered. It has its own part in the database to register all this data. It has to be acknowledged, maybe. It has to be supervised in a visualization. So it's a different thing to be considered. Alarm is one thing, and a conditional event is other thing, different, with less importance, let's say. So the actions are maybe not necessary in some cases. And in this example, I will not create any action. Single shot, what does it mean? Okay, what happens with if the alarms arises and arises again and arises again? What is the time of the alarm, the first or the last? So this is has to be considered. Also, you can say it's important to supervise this, but only from 9 to 5, because out of this normal timing, it's not interesting. So you can program this time program. You can do it this time programming if necessary. Or okay, I want to do it from 9 to 5 every single day, but not in August, for example. And the holidays has to be excluded. So I will not consider this as an alarm if we are in August. Or maybe you can say, no, it's just weekly. So it's from Monday to Friday, for example. Saturday and Sunday is not interesting. Also August, it's not interesting. So it's really fantastic because you also select when it's interesting to consider the alarm. And of course, these complex things is not necessary to include in the condition. Remember, if you want to do the condition, okay, yes, I want to do this supervision, but out of the normal timing, working time is not interesting for me, but this condition sometimes is complex to do. So it's not the case, okay? Time program is for this. I will not put a time program, I will just save. So what will happen? I don't know if the temperature is higher or not than 20.3. I have to monitor this here. Seems that the temperature is not higher than 20.3 now, but we can force it. Maybe I can just force the value to 20.4. Yeah, I can force it. So we have the alarm. We have an alarm here in a new list. That's very important. It's new, so it's an active alarm. I can acknowledge the alarm here. Okay, and comment. Okay, for example, this will be registered in the database. So it disappeared from the new list, but the alarm is still active. You can see it in the old list. Okay, we have the alarm active. What to do? Well, maybe imagine that the temperature is going again back to 2.3. We have no delays, so it's vanished now. It's not active. Nothing in the new list. In the old list is vanished. But in the history, we have everything. And this is very interesting because you can see everything here. It was created, there was a new alarm, it was acknowledged, and it was vanished. It can be created a pop-up window with the alarms. We are just monitoring a value, so you can do whatever. You can trigger a message, you can trigger a sound, you can trigger a pop-up window in Windows if necessary. You can create whatever you may need. Okay. Yes, you have a lot of examples in the knowledge base. So this is how to create an alarm. I will do another example with the alarms, but again using templates because this is very interesting. Now, not with temperatures because it's not as easy to check, but with the lights. We have a lot of lights. Remember, we have lights in our item tree, several lights, hall light, bathroom, left, right, ceiling, and bed. So if imagine that I want to monitor the status of all these lights for every room, I will do now in with the aliases. Okay, but we could also do it with KNX because for this, okay, the status of the lights are also here. So we have also very easy to handle the items depending on the room, the floor of the room, and the number of the light. But as I have alias, I can also get the name of the light, because the number is okay, but I don't have to remember if number 3 is the bed of left or right. No, I have some doubt. If I have the name, it's better. Okay, so I will do a template using the aliases for the light supervision. How to do this? The same way as before. So I have to create a new template. It will be an alarm. Okay, so the name is alarm for lights status. Okay. Path extension, again, folder, alarms, backslash, lights, backslash, per room, and then again, I can create some kind of variable, floor number, room number, but as told you, I'm a bit lazy. And then organized by light, and then another variable, number of the light. It can be whole, it can be bed, left, right, bathroom, etc. So what's the name of the alarm that will be inside every single folder of this, defining the path extension? Alarm for light, and it is not necessary to specify which is the light, because it will be a folder that contains this, but we can do it. Okay, no problem. For light, wherever, at room, whatever. It is not a problem for us, because it's just more information if necessary. Let's say that it's a high priority. It's just an example. And what is the condition? It's here inside. It's status on. For light, whatever. So it's possible. It will be included in the folder. Per every single light, we will have this condition name. Okay. No description is necessary. And what is the condition? We have to select this condition is comparison, in this case, equals. What will be the item? The item will be, if we go to the aliases, we get this status. But we will have some differences. Every single room is different depending on the floor number and the room number, so we use the variables floor and room, and I created the name of the items also carefully, because I can substitute status, whole, bed, or whatever has the same name. So the item ID will take the values for the floor, the room, and the light name. That will be very interesting. And well, just if the status is a Boolean true, I will say that we have an alarm. Okay. Okay. So I save. And in this example, again, I will not create any action. I will do this in other, maybe tomorrow we'll have some extension of this web manager examples. When we talk about logics and all these things, we will see. Okay, but now we don't have time to do all these examples. So no actions, just to monitor the alarms. Okay, single shot, time program, nothing. Okay, so I finished. It's saved. I just need to go here and go to alarms, to the configuration part of the alarms. Okay, we have temperature again high, higher than that by naturally. So the temperature is going higher. We have this alarm, but now I will go to the configuration and just apply the template in the root folder, because it will be created here. So I need to define which floor, which room, and which light name. So we need an export. We need to export the template. Okay, alarm for lights. Will take a bit more time, but not so much, because we have hall, bath, left, as far as I remember, right, ceiling, and bed. For every single room, for example, room number 1, I have 6 lights. And also for every single floor, same numbers here. So it's very simple for us because it's the same floor. Oops. Same floor, second room, okay? And now I copy this here for second floor. And then third floor. We have 6 and other 6 and last floor. And then it's easy to handle this. This is the rooms per floor. I have in the second floor the same, in the third floor the same, and the same in the fourth floor. And then I have the same names for the lights. 1 and 2 and the last 2. So it's fantastic. We have 48 definitions because we have 6 lights in 8 rooms. Okay, it wasn't takes a few time to do this, not so much if you are concentrated. So I just select the file and create all these alarms. Alarm for light status. Ooh, all this. And if you did properly, you will get all these alarms. It takes some seconds, but not so much. 48 alarms created and 48 conditions created. And we have it in a specific folder, alarms for lights, per a specific room for the specific lights. And how to test if it's working? Let's go. I have, for example, my alias, my room 1, central off. I can trigger this. And for the first floor, for the first room, sorry, let's check. I just turn on the lights for the 6. That's okay. But what if I do it for all the lights? Let me turn them off again. So I show you. It's automatically, well, it will refresh because there is a dimmer that takes a few time to go off, but we have it in the old list, vanished, okay? And in the history, everything is, but this is for the first room, all the information here, also the temperature, if you remember about the temperature. Nothing in the new list except the temperature, but okay, what happened if I send on to all this? Remember, we have a broadcast, not in alias, but we have a broadcast here. Okay, next broadcast. All the lights. Okay, let's go. Rock and roll. What's happening is that we have a lot. And very interesting, we can filter. If you put here in alarms, you can go, okay, I'm interested to know what happens with alarms for the room 0402. So you only see this exactly. And if you filter by folder, you only see this exactly. It's very interesting. If you see everything, you get everything. And finally, and as promised, I will finish now with this example. I will follow in the next session with more examples. Finally, it's very interesting to know how many alarms we have. How many alarms we have now? We can know it in the BMS. We have specific information about the number of alarms, just the number, but it's okay. There is an alarms counter about how many alarms new in high definition or low definition in total, etc. That's very interesting also, because you can just monitor these values and say, okay, if there's any alarm for high priority, send me an email alarms because you have alarms in high priority. Sometimes some number of alarms or whatever. It's an item, so we can manage this item. So you can create an alarm with this item itself about the number of alarms you may have. So we have seen how to manage with a bit, some few examples, trendings, alarms. Let's see if we have more information. Temperatures. It's also possible to take a look on this temperature. We may have some line. Yes, we have some information. Well, some data here. We see it in table. We see several data here, but it was a few minutes ago, temperature was higher than 20.3. So this is what we can show you for this session. We will continue in 45 minutes. Okay, try to accomplish with the timing today. So thank you very much for your attention, for your interest, and I hope you will enjoy a lot the next sessions with more examples about all these things. Talking about the lamps module, monitoring, talking about other examples. Okay, thank you very much, and see you at 11 European time in 45 minutes. Thank you very much.